My name is Dr. Matt Hayes. I am the Deputy Superintendent over Academics for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District. We want to take this opportunity today to just share with you some information that we know to this point and also share with you some information that we're waiting on further direction from the state as we continue on dealing with the COVID-19 crisis. Right now, we just want to share with everyone, first of all, that we have moved or are moving into the process of new learning through a virtual platform remotely. We are doing a rolling start for all of our schools. We will hope that all of our schools will be up and running with that opportunity for students by April the 6th. Please note that when transitioning to this, we want to make sure that we are allowing the students the benefit and the value of new learning, but we also do not want to do any harm to our students. To this point, we feel that we've done an excellent job in being able to communicate with our families and provide devices and resources for our students across the district. But we also know that we have families out there that, due to reasons that are greatly out of their control, may not have the availability to link in to the resources that we have at this point in time. We want those families to know that we're with them and we understand where you're coming from. And that expectation for you is a little bit different. But we do think it's valuable and important that our students do receive new instruction so they do not fall behind in their curriculum as the year continues on. We also want to share with you that with our high schools right now, we've had a lot of questions from families around our high schools and what's going to happen for graduation. We don't know just yet. Right now, we're still on a date around May 15th to possibly return back to school. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. And so at this point in time, we do not have any decisions that are made around graduation. And with really what we're doing with many of the situations that are dealing with our seniors as we await some guidance from the state and also just to know where we are as a community around the crisis that we're in right now and what that's going to look like in the next couple of weeks. So we have individuals that are also here with us today that will be sharing some information with you from their various departments, and we just appreciate them joining us. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Frank Barnes, and I'm our district's Chief Equity Officer. We've been getting a lot of questions about testing and grading. We want to provide some information as much as we have. First, allow me to iterate what Dr. Hayes has said already. Our focus and aim is to add value and do no harm. And it's in that spirit that we're pursuing all of our endeavors. But as we pursue that twofold aim, add value, do no harm, there's two things that we're keeping in mind. One, we're still not aware if we're going to be able to come back to school after May 15th. And we're still awaiting guidance from the State Department of Public Instruction. So what will grading look like if we return or even if we don't return? So we're collecting information about how students are doing, giving anecdotal information, providing meaningful feedback to support their learning. In the event that some type of letter grading has to take place, we don't know yet. We want to be prepared for any and every situation and scenario. The second thing we're keeping in mind are critical factors that the state has said need to be part of our remote learning plan. One thing they've said is that there needs to be student interaction with teachers to support their learning. So our teachers are making every effort to reach out to their students once a week to check in, answer questions, be able to be available just to let them know they're still part of a learning community. Even though they can't be there face to face, we're still thinking about them. We're still wanting to support their growth and development. That's what we want to do. A second critical factor, though, is extremely important to us and has been enforced by our board and by our superintendent, Mr. Ernest Winston. And he's wanting to make sure that we have access available to all of our students. That's one of the state's critical factors. So if we can't make sure everything's accessible, any type of grading, any type of movements that we make moving forward are going to be impacted by that. We don't want to perpetuate inequities, and we certainly don't want to perpetuate inequalities. So in the effect that we can't reach all students, we'll look at every decision through that lens. But overall, we care about you, we care about our students, we care about our growth. Every situation is different, every circumstance is different, and how we're dealing with this certain set of issues brought about by this pandemic. So please let us know if we're acting outside of that spirit of do no harm and add value. That's what we want to do. We support you, and we're glad we have the opportunity and the privilege to serve you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy Elling, Chief School Performance Officer, and I'd like to talk with you about two distinct groups of people who are supporting both our teachers and our students. First of all, I'd like to share with you that our learning community superintendents, and many of you know them, you sit in a learning community, you know how to reach out to their office. Our learning community superintendents are working very hard with our principals to ensure that they can reach out to students. And we're also working to ensure that students have access to devices and the internet. We know, you may know, that when we closed school, we did not have the chance to send students home necessarily with a device in their hand. So you can imagine making sure that students have access to devices when we can't get to them in normal circumstances has been a little bit of a challenge for us. We're continuing to work that process, and we're continuing to figure out how to reach areas of our community and county with devices and internet so that we can maximize access for all of our students. Second of all, I want to share with you that there's a group of individuals, psychologists, counselors, social workers, who are working hard to provide both materials and resources for teachers, because our expectation is as teachers are checking in with students, they're checking in around how are students doing. We want kids to be healthy, safe, and engage in learning, but we know health and safety always come first. So we've set up some resources for both our psychologists, counselors, and social workers, contact numbers for them, and they're reaching out to students in many of the normal ways they did when we were in face-to-face instruction. Our social workers, counselors, and psychologists maintain a caseload of students for whom they're continuing to provide services. Additionally, our social workers are connecting families with agencies that can provide needed support. So it's our expectation that this group of individuals is touching base with families on a regular basis to both connect them to services they need and provide direct services, which include case consultation, individual counseling, and a wide variety of activities. I think, would like to share that something that we know parents struggle with is the need to provide both structure and a routine for students. And by that, I mean, we want students to engage in learning, socialization, reading, and other activities. And I would share with you that one of the things that makes this time very challenging is the great deal of media around this particular virus that's bombarding us every single day and every minute of every day. I would share with you that the general approach to the media around this is for adults, that the language that the specialists and doctors and media people are using is really adult language, and to the extent possible, parents, if you could, parents and guardians, you want to minimize your child's interaction with media of that type so that they don't get misinformation and they have a hard time understanding it. Above all else, I want to echo what Dr. Barnes shared, that we are here to serve. We are working as hard as we can. We are all learning to work remotely while we're trying to problem solve things that are coming up very rapidly that we've never seen before. So I'd ask for a little bit of grace as we continue to work the problem in front of us, and know that the teachers, the psychologists, counselors, social workers, the folks that are supporting our principals, as in our learning community superintendents, are ensuring, one, that students they're safe and healthy. That's priority one. And two, that we're providing the max amount of emotional support we can provide and academic access. So with that said, we thank you very much for continuing to serve in the capacity as guardians and parents for children. And we're gonna go one day at a time, and it will get better. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian Kingsley. I am the Chief Academic Officer for CMS, and I want to first and foremost thank you for your partnership, your creativity, and your gentle spirit and grace as we all work together to ensure your children, your families, our teachers, our school community is safe, but we're also continuing to focus on our core business of learning and teaching while we deal with the challenges presented to us by COVID-19. As we continue to go further into our remote learning plan, I think it's incredibly important as a community that we ground ourselves in how the state is beginning to define what remote learning is. As you know, while your children are working at home, and in many cases you are serving to facilitate instruction as a parent, as a family, you recognize while we are outside of a traditional school setting, that learning is continuing in various medias, using various medias and various formats. We are immersing children and teachers with use of video, with different technologies, different online materials, as well as print. And we also are experiencing and exploring the use of a learning management system called Canvas that helps us push out new learning content to each of our children in grades 4 through 12. As my colleagues have shared with you throughout the course of this journey, it's incredibly important that while we're working together, that you continue to understand the spirit of this work, which is really ensuring that we're adding value to your children's learning experience, both at home and when they return to us at school, which really requires us to focus on access to these materials, not just the technologies, but to continued learning, as well as our teachers and our school leadership, that we have incredible and consistent communications between each other. Our instructional staff are reaching out and trying to reach out to your children every week, in some instances every day. It's incredibly important that that does not just have an instructional perspective, but we also want to make sure that you're continuing to do okay, that you're well, that you're healthy, and that if you have specific needs that we need to be responsive in partnership, that we can help fulfill those needs in working with you. As learning continues, we want to ensure that we're addressing the specific curriculum needs that are outlined in our North Carolina course of study. Your children up to this point in our traditional school setting have experienced about 3/4 of their year worth of learning. That fourth quarter is still really, really important. Forgive me, that's my dog in the background. That fourth quarter is really, really important. We want to make sure that we're continuing to address your children's curricular needs. So new instruction is beginning. Having evidence of that your child is learning is really, really important. So not just having them participate, but as they're communicating with their teachers through these various formats that we're communicating about what they're learning, how they're progressing, what they're continuing to struggle with is really, really important. And again, the spirit of this is also centering again against the whole child, not just how they're doing cognitively, but how we're doing emotionally, how we're doing physically. We really want to spend a lot of time connecting with each other to make sure that we're doing well. If I could take just a few minutes, I've had an opportunity through speaking and engaging the community that there's a few questions that continue to kind of be lifting up as something that are really incredible importance to all of you. And what is that? One of those questions is, how is the rollout of this new content structured? Does that look different or the same for elementary school students, middle school students, and high school students? As you know, as our schools began to close, our facilities began to close to students, we began to continue moving learning forward as early as March 23rd, where we were providing supplemental learning opportunities, both via our district website and through our individual teachers. Moving forward, starting no later than April 6th, we will begin moving forward with our fourth quarter of instruction and begin introducing new content and new learning opportunities for all of our students. Your child's principal will provide additional information regarding the official start date for your school, but it will happen no later than April 6th. Each CMS school will make available learning packets for students in pre-K through 3rd grade if your child happens to attend one of those grades in one of our elementary schools. And those learning packets will be available via print at all of our meal distribution sites moving forward. Another question that was lifted up was, is instruction specific to each school? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. We empower all of our teachers across the district to leverage their incredible talents to make sure that as we're moving forward with instruction, the spirit of which and how they engage with your children may look different school to school, classroom to classroom, but we have set some expectations around how much time children should be immersed in instruction on a daily basis while being in a remote learning environment. And for grades kindergarten through 5th grade, a student should be engaged in a maximum of 2 hours of district or school provided instruction each day, not to exceed 10 hours per week. Again, the idea here is to add value, do no harm. So we recognize that you're dealing with incredible challenges of navigate both your own workplace your own work environment, as well as the needs of tending to your family and children at this time. And so we want to ensure that we put forth guidance that is somewhat manageable for all of us to get through together, for our teachers as well as for you as parents and for our students. Schools may utilize the daily 2-hour district-created learning plans, and again, they may revise them, but what is a consistent standard is that we have a North Carolina course of study, and so the focus in content areas across each of our grades will remain the same. In our secondary schools, it may be a little bit more, Tom. As a maximum, we have set guidance that if your child is in one of our middle schools or high schools and on a semester schedule, you should experience no more than 3 hours per course per week of instruction. And if your children are immersed in a year-long schedule, that's about 90 minutes per course per week. So that's incredibly important for you to be mindful of. Another question that I think is important for me to lift up in terms of thinking about how to be best responsive to your needs is, will a set schedule be in place across the district for remote learning? Again, we set guidance and structures that we've asked schools to consider around time. We believe that in partnering with you as families, that creating a sense of normalcy and establishing routines is incredibly important to the social, emotional, and physical well-being of your children. So we want to encourage you, but we also recognize that this is not business as usual. And based upon your flexibility and your needs at home, we want to make sure that learning never stops, that learning continues to be at your fingertips through technology, through print packets, that you have an opportunity to set those parameters at home. But our children in our schools will begin providing you individual guidance for office hours to reach their teachers, opportunities to know when instruction may be available through various technology formats, but all of those sessions will be recorded in the event that your child could not participate in those sessions for them to be able to access at a later time. Again, it's incredibly important that we do this together. We do not want to leave anybody behind. They are unprecedented circumstances, and we are going to learn from you. We're going to learn from your feedback, and we appreciate your grace as us as educators are doing everything possible to ensure not only that does everybody have access to this learning, but that you're thriving while experiencing it. This is about adding benefit, doing no harm, and most importantly, it's about doing together. And we will learn together, and I'm incredibly grateful to serve as a part of this team, this school community, this district community, and we look forward to getting better over time as a result of partnering with you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Beth Thompson, Assistant Superintendent for Academics, and we've had the honor over the last few weeks at engaging with multiple partners around the creation of resources in honor of supporting our students as we move forward with both supplementary instruction and now into new content, in order to make sure that our students are still able to learn even while we're in unprecedented circumstances of not being able to do that in the schoolhouse. There's several groups that I want to lift up. In collaboration with our Department of Learning and Teaching, we've also been able to work with other departments across our district, departments such as Exceptional Children, English Language Learners, Academically Gifted, and also magnet programs, just to name a few, to ensure that the resources that we're providing for teachers specifically are inclusive of each and every child in our district. We've had, in conjunction with those departments, over 100 teachers, coaches, and facilitators who are school-based in their day-to-day life on a normal basis, who have also supported in curating resources and ensuring that we were able to deliver those in a really timely fashion. And we thank each and every one of those folks who have been working and continue to work in that endeavor. Last but certainly not least, I'd be remiss to not make sure that we also honored our curriculum partners, specifically EL and Open Up, who have really risen to the occasion of supporting our district and making sure that we can convert the curricular resources that they help provide our district on a regular basis and make sure that we can make those amenable to a remote learning format. So we thank all of those folks. We acknowledge that in the K-2 grade levels, we want to both limit screen time for our younger children, and that we don't have digital access for all children in grades pre-kindergarten through 2nd grade. So to that end, the resources that we have provided do not necessitate having a digital device or internet access. Learning packets for supplementary learning have been delivered to all of our meal distribution sites for the first phase, and will also be delivered for our second phase as we move into instructing students in new content. Those packets, those materials will be provided both in English and in Spanish, and will also provide resources for other student groups, such as specific magnet programs and or our exceptional children. Know that in those resources for kindergarten through second grade, there are options that have digital aspects to them. For example, there will be links to YouTube videos that will help to teach. Those are not required, but they're options if families want to take advantage of those. Student learning will not be hindered in any way, shape, or form, though, if they don't have access to those digital options. We want to lift up an exciting opportunity for our pre-K through third grade students as we're able to utilize CMS TV to be able to provide learning for students, specifically daily read-alouds that will take place. And we encourage you to tune into CMS TV over the coming weeks to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. In grades 4 through 12, we will be using Canvas as our digital learning platform. Lots of resources have been created there, and teachers have had the opportunity over the last 2 weeks to make sure that they can participate in professional learning, whether they're already experts and want to tune their craft, or whether they're just starting out and understanding how to log in. We've had options that teachers can tune into to have somebody face-to-face to support them in that learning, or self-paced options that they can do at any time that's convenient for them to ensure that we are able to help teachers throughout this time period. We love feedback and would relish any sort of feedback that you can give us around what can continue to make resources supportive of our students and our teachers throughout this time period. Thanks so much.
My name is Ann White, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent for the Exceptional Children's Program in CMS. I know folks are wondering if remote learning is happening for students with disabilities, and yes, it is. Special education and related services are both available for students with disabilities. An important foundational principle for serving students with disabilities is to base service on each child's individual needs. So programming will happen on a case-by-case basis. Parents will be included in the decision-making process for determining the appropriate service delivery during this school closure. Parents can expect to hear from their child's service provider in the next few days to engage in a discussion to determine appropriate services. If virtual special education services are not appropriate for a particular student, compensatory education plans will be developed. Instruction will be delivered in a variety of ways based on the individualized needs of each student, and these include virtual small group lessons, virtual individual lessons, co-taught instruction, partnering with the general education teacher, pre-recorded instruction with a follow-up, phone calls to students and work around their IEP goals, assignments with follow-up, as well as interactive exchanges on in a chat room or a shared Google Doc. It's also really important for you to know that we really value our parents as partners during this time. Our department has been communicating with families via ConnectEd, including phone calls, emails, text messages, and posting resources and information on our page within the CMS website under COVID-19. We've created an FAQ document, which is posted there, and that answers many of the questions that have been raised by families, including guidance on having IEP meetings. In addition, our department is working with our EC Parent Advisory Council, and we're hosting a virtual parent roundtable meeting on April 8th at 7 p.m. Additional details about the virtual parent roundtable will be shared through our website and through direct communication with our families. If parents of students with disabilities have not been receiving messages from us, they should update their email and phone contact information in PowerSchool. We ask that they reach out to their individual school to update this information in PowerSchool. In closing, I would like to extend all of our best wishes to all students and their families during this very difficult time. We are all facing uncertainty and challenges that we never imagined. This makes learning tougher for all students, but especially students with disabilities. I'd also like to thank all my colleagues in CMS who have been working tirelessly and continue to work tirelessly to comfort and engage with students during this time. Thank you.